All right. What's up? What's so funny?
Oh, Emerson just sent me a DM. It's just
Oh, all right.
nonsense.
Well,
Pure
he's
nonsense.
Brendan. Well, see, folks, behind the scenes, we get the cue to go, and when I hear laughing and I'm trying to watch my cue, I don't. It makes me uncomfortable. So, thanks, Jeff. Jeff Ulrich, Brendan Glasheen. We're here. This is the Slate. We are a DraftKings show. We take you up until just about 6:00 on this Monday, April 10th. We will dive into some golf, some reaction to the Masters yesterday, the RBC next on the PGA Tour. Before we do so, we do like on Mondays, if we have it, some NFL news. And we did get some news that broke during the final round of the Masters yesterday. Odell Beckham Jr., 1 year and this was rumored at the end of last week, but it came to fruition yesterday. Odell Beckham Jr. signs a 1 year deal, $15 million guaranteed, can be up to $18 million with the Baltimore Ravens. And now Lamar Jackson was responding to said move via his Instagram. And now we've got video from the two of them that were in the club popping bottles after becoming teammates last night. There was video of them somewhere at some sort of club or whatever. So, Jeff, I still don't know. Okay, for the Ravens, yes, that could lure Lamar Jackson in. You're still going to have to pay him a lot of money, and he got at best a number 3 receiver. I'm not so high on Odell Beckham Jr. Didn't play last year. Was great with the Rams. That he fit in nicely. Did his job. Fit in with the Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods duo there. But I don't know if this moves the needle for me. But I mean, it seems like Lamar Jackson's a big fan of the move.
Yeah. If getting if getting Odell Beckham is like the big move that all of a sudden tips the scales for Lamar Jackson, if that's really all that it took, why didn't this happen sooner? This is it's not a nothing move. Odell Beckham is a very talented wide receiver, but he's 30 years old. He's coming off like ACL injuries. I mean, like, this is not a player who you can rely on to be your wide receiver one. And like, the Ravens have Rashad Bateman. They have Mark Andrews as well. So it's not necessarily that type of situation. But at the same time, I mean, if this is the move that gets Lamar Jackson over the hump, I mean, it's weird, but I have questions why. I don't really think it's that drastic a move. To the bigger picture of things, if the Ravens come back and this is like, they get Lamar Jackson and they bring in Odell Beckham and this is it, I don't really know. Todd Monken is now the OC. If there's going to be changes and more success, it's going to be because he changes up the play calling a little bit. I don't really think that Odell Beckham is going to be like a massive part of it. Mm-hmm. He's certainly going to be there, but they need Bateman to step up, Mark Andrews to keep producing, and Lamar Jackson to be a better passer. That's what they need. So I don't know. It's fine. I mean, I think Odell Beckham, considering the wide receiver market, makes sense for the Ravens. But I just, from a Lamar Jackson standpoint, if this is it, I mean, like, if this is all it takes, man, I mean, like, why didn't this happen sooner? If that's all it took, I mean, like, this is not that hard to accomplish. So
right.
I guess that's part of it I don't understand. I'm like you. Like, Odell's fine, but he's not really tipping the scales for me. I'm not moving the Ravens up in my power rankings or anything like that. So yeah.
Now, of course, he's not. That's a pretty substantial contract in terms of the money. That's pretty substantial money for Odell Beckham Jr. Now, it's just 1 year. It's a flyer kind of deal. Perhaps they were not interested in wanting to give up draft capital or more assets to go get DeAndre Hopkins, which the latest on Hopkins, though, is he could be released around the time of the draft. I guess that factors into his contract and what kind of ways the Cardinals could save some money by doing it that way. But yeah, it doesn't. I don't know if it's just weird. I don't. It's like this is all it would take, Lamar, to appease you. I just don't totally follow it.
Like, to that effect, I don't really know if this is really going to change anything with Lamar. Like, the optics of it, sure. It looks like Lamar is now closer to coming back, but I don't really know if that's the case. I mean, I again, like, it's still a money thing, right? Like, I mean, how does this change? Like, is Lamar actually going to take less money just because Odell Beckham's on the team? I really doubt it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is all it takes. Maybe like he just wanted some guy like a buddy or someone he holds in high regard on the team. I don't know. I don't have inside information. But again, to my first point, if this is all it takes, I'm A, shocked, and B, like, why didn't this happen sooner? Because this is not a hard thing to accomplish. So,
and OBJ got his and out of this deal too. Like, make no mistake. I think he was quoted. He was quoted like, I'm being offered 4. I think I'm worth 7 to 8. He got almost double that in guarantees. I think
great
as much as
Odell Beckham, absolutely
right. As much as Odell Beckham,
healthy, if he can stay healthy, he could turn this into a multi-year contract next season for probably similar term, maybe not similar term, but or similar money, or around the vicinity. He could turn it into one more contract. So again, like Odell Beckham is 30. I think this is the other thing people just don't like. He's great. He's huge talent, but like, Father Time is undefeated too. I mean, like the ACL injuries, they're piling up. So, I don't know, man. I mean, I just like the Ravens are really, to me, like we have to wait and see with Baltimore how this newfangled offense is going to take shape with Monacan. And that's I'm just assuming that Lamar Jackson is somehow going to be their starter day one. I'm still very skeptical of that, but let's assume it is. They're going to have a newfangled offense. It's going to be more run or pass based, if I had to guess. And you're going to have Odell Beckham out there as like kind of a 1A receiver with Bateman. It could work. Like, I think there's potential there, but like, man, there's a lot of ifs around the Ravens. So very kind of what I would call high variance team going into next season. And that's even with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. If Lamar isn't there, the variance gets higher and it gets way more likely that it's going to be, a poor season.
Yeah. Yeah. Optically, it's bizarre. But like what I was getting at is like Odell Beckham Jr. makes it all look great from a social media perspective. They're out and about sharing the love for one another. Folks, don't get it twisted. He got $15 million out of this. So like, regardless of Lamar coming back or not, I think OBJ will happily.
He'll be fine. Yeah. I mean, again, to your point, I think people are assuming, oh, like, wow, they're partying, their teammates. They're probably just partying because Odell Beckham just got $15 million. That's probably why they're partying. To me, this is the Ravens. It kind of reeks of just, the commercial where the guy's just slapping on like the sealant to the big tub of water that's leaking.
Yeah.
It's kind of what the Ravens are trying to do, I think, with Odell Beckham. And I mean, I think a lot of teams who were interested in Odell Beckham were probably thinking the same thing. It's a weak wide receiver class. I don't know if you get top end Odell Beckham, man. I mean, this could look great. If Odell is suddenly all of a sudden a little washed, you get a little Allen Robinson syndrome, or he just gets injured again, this is going to look insanely dumb. Like 5 weeks into the year, but it's a risk reward thing. It's not a deep wide receiver market. I don't even hate the signing. I just with the whole Lamar Odell thing, I think I'd just be surprised that this was like the thing that tipped the scale.
Yeah.
Scales back to Lamar. That I still feel like this situation is going to really drag out.
And the market hasn't changed much. Win total for the Ravens, 8.5. Juice to the over, -140. Second favorite in the division at +275, only trailing the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals now at +125 to win the division.
And I think the Ravens, and I mean, I'll say it right now. I mean, I think the Ravens, even at that total, is a good under target. Like, again, there's just so many question marks with this team. How is the new, like, it's a new OC. We don't know if it's going to work. I like Monacan too, but like, you may be asking Lamar Jackson to pass more than he's ever passed in his life.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking him all of a sudden to go out of the Greg Roman system for the first time. This is assuming he comes back. You're now relying on Odell Beckham and Nelson Aguilar to shore up the wide receiver corps. One guy who was terrible last year, another guy who didn't play football last year. Your defense has lost some veteran status. They have some issues back there as well. Injuries have been a huge problem. Like, and then you just look at the division too. I think Cleveland could be in a good bounce back spot. They're still have some talent up and down the roster. I think Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin, the second year of the Kenny Pickett experience. I would be shocked if they were worse. So tough spot for the Ravens. I think this could be, and then there's just like, if you bet the Ravens now on the under, you have the Lamar chip. I mean, if Lamar doesn't come back, what are they going to do? So I think there's real interest, or there should be, in betting the Ravens under right now.
Okay. It's one of those teams in the AFC and just in the NFL altogether. They usually keep it really buttoned up from a culture perspective, but when the quarterback wants out, or couldn't come, if they can't come to a deal and they're far apart, plus money on the under, it just feels too good to be true. But maybe that's the market reflecting this news that they think that Lamar will come back. But even so, if he is back, that there could be still question marks. He could play on the franchise non-exclusive tag, and God knows how that is. If he was sitting out games last year, not on a tag, without a long-term deal, who's to say that wouldn't happen again this coming year? But then Lamar also has been very outspoken with his Twitter, and he told people, well, I would want to be out there. So then he has to like backtrack his own words if he plays on the tag, because then it's like, wait a minute. So, okay. So yeah, I mean, like that, you can't help yourself but think, all right, they signed OBJ, but what does that mean for Lamar Jackson? I don't think it means, if they, like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head. If it means that much, then what's going on with the Ravens? Like what took so long? But weird. Okay. Anyway, on to the world of golf. What'd you make of the Masters yesterday? That was pretty. I'll say that I thought the Phil Mickelson and Jordan Spieth storylines towards the end of that final day were pretty awesome. But then to get the Koepka Rahm showdown was great as well. But I thought the Phil narrative was pretty awesome to follow.
It was. I mean, it really was. Yeah. No. It was a weird event. I mean, Saturday. It just felt like Sunday was such a long day. Like, I mean, obviously it's Easter Sunday as well, but like, the golf starting at like 6 a.m, basically, and just going right into the evening. I mean, what a long day. This Sunday just felt like 2 days to me. And then Saturday, it was almost like, well, we have nothing to do. So it was kind of a weird event from that, but I think it delivered. I really do. I mean, I think the Masters Sunday was almost more intriguing for some of those reasons, because there was, some poor weather involved and a little bit of that, and just a quick turnaround. But I mean, it was intriguing. It was a little bit of a runaway at the end, but not too much. I mean, it was still a nice little like heads up battle. I'm not shocked that Rahm grinded down Koepka. Koepka is clearly a little bit recharged here, focused again, but it's been a while for Koepka to be in that situation. And it's not like he was going up against like Victor Hovland or like Sungjae Im, like a guy who's yet to make it, like a guy could potentially intimidate a little bit just because he's been there before. This is Jon Rahm. As soon as it became kind of those two, I was fully expecting Rahm to grind him down. I would have been way more surprised if Koepka had won, like far, far more. And that was even when Koepka was up by like 2 shots. Mm-hmm. I was personally cheering for Koepka, but that's for monetary reasons. It has nothing to do with my non-biased thoughts. So, I mean, it was a great win by Rahm. I think the conditions did help Rahm. I think you're seeing Augusta with some of the changes that the Augusta National Committee has been making. I really do feel like it's becoming a little bit more of a U.S. Open style of course. Not necessarily because of the rough or anything like that, but it's just super long. The par fives aren't like chip and putts anymore. They're tougher holes. If you're not strong off the tee, you're basically playing them as 3-shotters. And Rahm is extremely strong off the tee, even in the rain and the wind, long and straight. I think it just really paid off. And I mean, he's just a complete player at this point. I mean, there's no doubt. There was a point of Jon Rahm's career where I think people legitimately wondered, probably rightfully so, whether his emotions would just stop him from really, getting as many majors and getting as many wins as he should. But that time is gone. I mean, this guy matured in a hurry, and 2 majors now, sky's the limit. He's going to be tough to beat in the next ones, man. He is absolutely going to be a force.
4 wins on the PGA Tour now in 2023 for Jon Rahm, only the month of April. Any other takeaways that what you may have learned from the field? We're going to see a lot of these same names coming up at the RBC Heritage, which we'll get to, but just anything from an individual player perspective that you took away that you're keeping in your back of your mind?
I mean, the Phil thing was obviously, cool and obvious, I mean, cool to see. It's a good reminder that, when we get to these major championships that, we shouldn't be writing off the live players. It doesn't mean you have to, all of a sudden go, in your DFS lineups or betting, you go heavy on the live players. I mean, I think it's going to be a little bit tougher for them to hold form because of their scheduling. But at the same time, like guys like Reed and Koepka, who've been real major championship contenders their entire career, I don't think it's going to affect them that much. So, a guy like Cam Smith, another one to keep an eye on, Joaquin Niemann, even Mito Pereira, who did make the cut. I was impressed with the live guys. I really was. I thought there was definitely a scenario where, we just had like a handful of guys make the cut. Nobody really finished near the top 10, and it was just kind of a wash. But credit to them. And this is good. This is actually good for golf. I mean, the PGA Tour may hate it from an optics standpoint. It makes the majors far more intriguing with these guys around. I mean, far, far more. It's like almost a different, adding a completely extra element that we don't have in the regular weeks. It's far, far more. It's far better theater to have these live guys competitive. I'm very excited about it. I'm glad they put up a good showing. I'm glad Koepka's back. As far as just individual players, I mean, for me, the funnest guy to watch on Sunday was Sahith Theegala. I mean, this dude is an absolute player. If I don't know if you saw his chip in on 16, it was basically the Tiger chip in.
Yeah,
he was the top debutant. So we hit it at plus 550. He got an invite to next year's Masters because of his finish. He finished in the top 10. He is just really good. He's into the top 30, I think, now in the official world golf rankings. This guy can just do it all. He's got a great around the green game. He's got creativity. He's not afraid to be aggressive. Theegala is going to win soon. So actually, it's Theegala, not Theegala. Sahith Theegala is going to win soon. So great young player, someone you need to keep an eye on. PGA too coming up. I mean, look, we've seen players win their first tournament at the PGA. I would not put it past this guy at this point. He absolutely has a world-class game, and I'm excited to keep betting him.
The live presence, it makes you feel like you're watching the Avengers, and it's like Endgame or whatever, and they're just cutting from one hole to the next, and you're like, oh yeah, that guy's back, and he's back. It's kind of cool. Like your favorite character, your favorite superhero is just back in the mix, and it creates a little drama. Jim Nantz got involved. Jim Nantz had a little chirp for the live crew during the broadcast. I'm not sure. Like you said, I don't know if the PGA Tour loves it. We've used the word optically now a few times on the show, NFL and golf. But I mean, as a consumer like us, I'm in. I thought it was good. So, and they, that could have been way worse when you consider trees falling down and how no one got hurt, thankfully. It could have been a really dragged out weekend. We could be talking about the thing finishing right now, for crying out loud, but they somehow persevered and they got all of that in yesterday.
No, Augusta that's the thing. I mean, we basically had open championship conditions, but Augusta it's got the drainage system. These guys are absolutely able to handle it. They have falling trees. This has been a regular tour stop. Absolutely, we'd be playing today on Monday. No question in my mind. But Augusta, man, these people are prepared for everything. So, yeah, credit to them. It's always, like I said, even with the stoppages and not having too much play on Saturday, I didn't really I thought it was a great event. It was a great event to track, as always. It's so well put on. They're quirky. They got their own things to do. But, man, yeah, sucks that we have to wait another year for the Masters.
Okay, RBC Heritage in Hilton Head, South Carolina this weekend. A lot of familiar names that we saw atop the leaderboard as far as opening odds heading into this particular tournament. Scheffler, Rahm, Cantlay, Morikawa, Spieth, Hovland, some familiar names atop. Scheffler's your favorite. Jon Rahm, who we just spoke about a few minutes ago. I guess the only thing that would be holding him back would be just a Masters hangover, the way he's been playing. Jeff's got his cheat sheet up right now at DraftKings, dknation.draftkings.com. When we get looking ahead here to this tournament, what jumps out?
Yeah, so I mean, completely different kind of course. I just talked about Augusta kind of playing as like a super long, almost bombers track. I mean, not almost bombers track. It is a bombers track now, especially when it gets wet. But the RBC Heritage played at Harbour Town, Hilton Head. This is a shorter par 71, about 7,100 yards. It is super technical. It is claustrophobic. There's old trees everywhere. The fairways are narrow. The greens are some of the smallest on the PGA. It is basically pinpoint golf, and the average driving distance this week drops by like 30 yards. Players are clubbing down off the tee. There's a lot of dog legs where just taking driver isn't even a possibility. So completely different kind of setup. This basically boils down to, you've got to have, you can't be a mess off the tee, but if you can just place it out there, okay, you're going to be okay off the tee. It's really the rest of the game. It's a second shot at in course. You've got to have good mid to long irons, good around the green games because everyone's going to miss some greens. It's also windy here. It's just off the sea. So tee to green, important with an emphasis on around the green play as well. Again, most of the winners here typically gaining a couple strokes around the green. Got to be good around the green on a Pete Dye course. It's just hard to hit greens. So different kind of track than we saw last week. It's going to be a little bit more of a cerebral test, a patience game. There's a little bit of poor weather involved, but not too much. Some gusts potentially, I think Friday and Saturday. So it'll be a little bit similar to that, to what we saw last week. But, winning score here, typically between like 12 and 15 under. And I think with the conditions, again, you'll probably see that. So again, strong tee to green play with an emphasis on around the green. And again, this is a kind of track where lots of correlation. You can look to players who play well at Colonial, the Sony Open, PGA National, very similar style setups. So, it's one of these technical classical tracks that just always seems to attract the same names.
So as far as individuals we like, and of course, the hardest part, at least for me, is I try not to overreact what happened the previous week. So there's Rahm, right? Jordan Spieth, who did win this last year. He finished awfully strong at the Masters over the weekend. Who are some names that we're targeting that fit this criteria?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is I should also mention for this event, it's the first year that the RBC Heritage has been an elevated event. So it's got I believe it's a $20 million prize purse. It's actually insane to say that out loud. But so what you're seeing is all the elite players are now playing this event for like the first time. Like this is Scheffler's first time playing the RBC, I believe. Rahm has played it once before, but it was like 4 years ago. Cantlay plays it every year. Morikawa's played it almost every year. Spieth plays it every year. Hovland hasn't played it. Hovland may have played last year, but there's a fair number of players. Finau never plays it. So there's a fair number of players who haven't played this very often. And then you add in the fact that the Masters was last week. We had a windy, blustery Masters. It is kind of a tricky situation at the top. I am personally, with these kind of courses, to me, it's not the week to take the top players. If you got on Jon Rahm last week, that was the week. It was the big event. He peaked. It was tough conditions. Perfect spot to take Rahm. This is not the perfect spot to take a player who's, going through his Masters hangover. And I should mention, too, Rory McIlroy withdrew. So we're actually down one of the big three. I actually didn't look into why he withdrew, but maybe just is sad that he missed the cut. Either way, Rory's not here.
Sadness.
Yeah. And Will Zalatoris is out as well, and Jason Day is out. Will Zalatoris is out for the year, by the way. He's having back surgery, so that's some pretty poor news. But yeah, to me, this is a spot where you should be targeting kind of the next round down. I really like a couple players. We'll start with Sungjae Im, plus 2,800. Made the cut last week. He's been a little bit up and down, but really good all-around player.
Correct me, Jeff, were you high on him going into the Masters too?
Not really. No,
okay.
I didn't really like him last week. It's not like he's done well at the course, but I feel like, again, with the way, and this, I'm kind of mad I didn't think about this a little bit more, but I think with the changes that they're making, I think Augusta is it just lends itself more to kind of bigger hitters off the tee. Not that Sungjae can't get it out there, but I think this is more his style, of course. I also just didn't, he's just been so up and down. I just didn't really like his number last week. But again, like this is a different style of course. He's played this a couple times. He's played the American Express a couple times. He's done really well on Pete Dye tracks. He was 6th at the Players. I didn't hate Sanjay last week, but I'm not really shocked to see where he finished. That was kind of what I would have pegged him for. He just about missed the cut. But this is going to be better conditions. It's more of a target, patient style course where your all around game can kind of shine through. And again, we're looking for comparables. He's won at the Honda Classic. He's won at the Shriners. Again, TPC Summerlin, another probably good comparison for this week. So I like Sanjay M. I think that's a fair number. And I also like Justin Thomas plus 2,800. Justin Thomas missed the weekend. We have seen 4 out of the last 10 winners of this event play the Masters and miss the cut. So just staying fresh for that weekend and not having to play in tough conditions, it's a big benefit, especially for an elite player like Justin Thomas. So I think those are really good numbers on Sungjae and Justin Thomas. And those are the 2 players I like starting betting cards with. You could certainly look to Morikawa, Hovland, Cameron Young. Those are fair numbers. I just think there's better value there with Sungjae at 28 and Thomas at the same number, 28.
Okay, so not performing well at Augusta is a trend you're willing to. It is a trend that historically has proved to be.
Again, it's a pretty big letdown week for the players who, even if they made the cut at Augusta and were in contention, sometimes we see players, drag that confidence in. I think Matt Kuchar was top 5 at Augusta one season, came here and won. So you don't have to avoid all the top players, but we've also seen the opposite where players are just bombed out at Augusta, come here and be like, I'm getting back on the course and I'm gonna prove that I belong here. And I think Justin Thomas is that kind of player. He was on Twitter over the weekend, being like, yeah, man, that sucks. Like, I can't believe I missed the Masters. And I guarantee he's just chomping at the bit to get back out there. So I do like it as a bounce back spot for Thomas, but you don't have to shy away from everyone who did well last week. There's some players, like I mentioned, Thigala, he's at plus 6,500.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be absolutely fine with him. I think he lost in a playoff at the RSM Classic, the Sea Island, where he was T2 over the fall. Very similar course. It's played just north of Hilton Head. So Thigala plus 6,500, I think is very live this week. Russell Henley, who was T5, or actually I think it was T4 at the Masters. His number's not. If you could get Russ at like plus 55 or plus 6, that'd be better. But like Henley could easily come in here. He sets up beautifully for this course. Probably the best mid-iron player in golf, or one of the top 3. Those are 2 guys lower down in odds, played well last week. I won't be shocked if they see some continuation.
Who might want you? Wow, that didn't come out the way I wanted it. Who might you want to spend more on in a DFS contest, though? Because you're reaching down the board. You're going further down the board here with M and Thomas as guys you like. But who up top do you want to spend?
I think that's a fair question. Cantlay, Spieth to me is a good fade candidate this week. He's way more expensive because he won last year. He's coming off a T5, a top 5. He's going to be popular. He did speak about being fatigued after the Masters and how it affected him. I don't think his heart's really going to be in it this week. I really don't. He gave it a good effort on Sunday. He got the top 5. That's a big result for him. I would be shocked if Jordan Spieth was like in it this week. And maybe I'm underestimating him a little bit, but the way he was speaking, I don't really want a part of that. And part of it is price, though. It's not just that. It's not just narrative. Colin Morikawa is 10K flat. He's played extremely well this event the last 2 seasons. He just couldn't putt last year. He was like 25th, but he was dominating on approach. This is a really good second shot course for Morikawa. That's probably my favorite play of the 3, but Hovland and Cantlay is certainly playable. Cantlay is just eating this course alive at points. Second here last season to Spieth. He's got 3 top 5s and 5 career appearances at this event. So, you wanted to start with like Cantlay Morikawa or Morikawa Hovland or even Cantlay Hovland. That's fine. And you know what? Like those 3, the ownership will be a little spread, but those 3 would be my top picks. I would probably rank them Morikawa, Cantlay, Hovland, but it's really close between those 3.
Any concern about Hovland and how he kind of fell out of it over the weekend?
Not really. The around the green game with Vic is always a little bit of an issue, but he, again, he's not going to have to do as much this week. It's a little bit shorter course. I think it sets up well for a player whose irons are so good.
Hmm.
You know, again, there's fatigue concerns with all of these players who played on the weekend, but like Hovland's looked really good. He was second at the Players, top 5 at Bay Hill or top 10 at Bay Hill. I don't have too much concerns. I would have liked to see him stick around. It certainly would have helped me, but once you're out of it, it's hard to get the wheels rolling back at Augusta. I think all 3 of those players kind of had concerns on the weekend just from the fact that they fell off a bit. Even Morikawa fell off. Cantlay certainly had a poor Sunday. He was out there taking like 10 minutes per shot. So you can make case against all of them, but I think you'll probably see all 3 of them bounce back. Or at least I wouldn't be shocked if you did.
Okay, we've got a couple minutes. We'll spend some time on the NHL before we wrap up. So, and by the way, you can catch Jeff. You can find all of his content, of course, dknation.draftkings.com. He'll put out his plays at the Fantasy Grind on Twitter. When do you normally put those out? Wednesday, but just the day before?
Yeah, usually it depends on the week, but yeah,
you have plays out now in the article, but I know your final card, you'll get that out Wednesday night usually.
I give out what I call my losing betting picks I usually try and get them out Tuesday.
So give people a chance to let those marinate and then make their decisions wisely. I see. Okay. Well, be on the lookout for that. He's also talking golf on Wednesday. So we'll spend a couple minutes in the world of hockey. Jeff, I got home from Philadelphia this morning. I went to Bruins Flyers last night. Saw the 63rd win. A lot of Philly fans weren't a fan of yours truly. They were not happy with my my cheering for Boston. I'm happy I made it home alive. But that was pretty neat yesterday. Anywho, no Bruins tonight. But a big Monday slate here as we finish up.
Yeah.
Any spots? It's kind of like this is the same. The NBA season just ended, but similar to that. Like you got to keep a keen eye on what games actually mean something for some and who's in, who's out. Any spots that you like tonight in the NHL?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a weird one. Some of these teams obviously have nothing to play for, but you don't see like the resting that you do in hockey that you do in NBA. Most of these teams are playing their second to last game. So if you're going to see resting, it'll probably be in like the very finale or like weird lineups. But I'm looking at a couple spots. I think that the Kings have to get back on track here. This is getting to be a little bit concerning for them. They're 3-8 over their last 11 games. They've given up home ice advantage to the Oilers. This team needs to win, get some momentum. They're playing the Canucks. I think plus 130 on the puck line is actually fine to take. You could keep fading them, but I kind of like that, to be honest. I think this team is still good. They're getting Mikey Anderson back tonight. They may be getting Fiala back. I haven't checked that, but they had some injuries. I think the Kings probably put it together. They've just gone through a rough patch, and I think this is actually a pretty big spot for them. They can't just lose out here. They could just go home in like 4 games if they keep playing like this. So pretty big spot tonight for the Kings. That was one spot right off the bat. And then we got, just head to the playoff games. I like the puck line on the Islanders too. This line has dropped. I think it was plus 165 this morning, but it's plus 140. Really anything bigger than like plus 125. I mean, I'm taking the Islanders. They covered easily in their last game. They've got elite goaltending, playing a Capitals team. Alex Ovechkin is banged up. I didn't double check before we came on, but even if Ovechkin plays, it's just like the Capitals have been terrible lately. So I think that getting on the Capitals here again, getting on the Islanders here again, completely fine. Some must-win game for them. They're in control of their own fate. Florida and the Capitals can both shut out the Penguins from the playoffs. They just win out. Islanders have 2 easy games left. I think they take care of business tonight. So I like the Islanders as well. Just looking around the league.
Ovechkin's out tonight.
Okay, yeah, I'd be shocked if you see him again this season.
They made a call up from their farm team in Hershey.
Even better. So I mean, and I'd look to the Islanders goal scorers too. Like you can go to like Anders Lee, a guy like targeting goal scoring props. He's always a little bit undervalued to me for a guy who's just a first line power play unit specialist. Plus 190 tonight. Even Palmieri under him at plus 200 is fine. So I think the Islanders are good just targets tonight. DFS, betting, the whole shebang. So Yeah, give me Anders Lee. I think a good target there. The Panthers game is interesting. The Panthers and Leafs played a really close game a week ago, but I think like the Leafs were still kind of in, go for it mode. I don't know what motivation Toronto has tonight. I'm more wary of going against the Leafs. The puck line there is so interesting. A plus 165. I'd probably just stay away, but because it's Toronto and I just don't want to guess what their motivation is. If Toronto brings it tonight, that's going to be a real like ferocious game. So that one, you can play the puck line there. I still like the under on the Jets game. The Sharks, I know, have been over machines lately, but unless the Jets score 6 goals, I think that's got a great chance of hitting the under. Sharks offense stinks. The Jets are great defensively. Get any goaltending from San Jose. This one will probably stay under. The Jets are just over machines too. Like they're hitting like a 70% clip for the season to unders. Like it's ridiculous. So I'm just going to keep riding that tonight. Little bit maybe riskier than I liked. I mean, they just smashed the under in their last game against, I think it was Nashville, but just with San Jose's defense being so poor, but I still like the under there at 6.5.
Yeah, Sharks have been the last couple of opponents too, like Avalanche, Oilers. Now they scored a lot of goals against Arizona. So they team that's just as bad as them, and then 2 teams that are much better than them out west.
Yeah.
So they meet in the middle tonight, I think, is the play.
And then my last one, like, I don't know how I want to play this necessarily. I do like the Calgary Flames. I don't like the puck line as much as I did some of the other ones I was talking about, but I think the Flames win tonight. So, playing them up minus 215 on the money line isn't great. I was thinking the Flames may be a good to win in regulation candidate.
Yeah, I'm just going to look for that for you.
Minus 135. I think they dominate tonight. The Predators are just lucky to be here.
Minus 135.
Yeah.
60-minute line.
I think that's pretty fair. Flames at home. Predators just not much offensively. Flames should just dominate this. Probably outshoot them like 2-1 or something. So yeah, give me Calgary tonight. You may want to look to their goal scorers too. I don't love taking goal scoring props against Juicy Saros, but I just think this is going to be a spot where Calgary dominates. So you could take a look at Andrew Mangiapane at plus 250. Still getting some top 6 looks, power play minutes. Huberdeau never shoots. Don't take Huberdeau. Kadri's probably a better target there, plus 200. But I do like that number on Andrew Mangiapane for a goal.
All righty, we got to go. Jeff, good stuff. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Plenty to get to there in that show. Golf, some football with OBJ, and then some hockey before the regular season wraps up. The slate returns tomorrow after the 4 p.m. Madden Sim, 4 p.m. Eastern Sim. We have the Sweat at 11 a.m. tomorrow on YouTube, Twitch, as well as the DK Nation Twitter. For Jeff Ulrich, Brendan Glasheen, thanks to our crew behind the scenes. Well,